So you're ready to start your dissertation journey, and you're not quite sure where you're going to start. And we're hitting you up with all of these concepts like conceptual frameworks, theoretical frameworks, and trios, and it can become very overwhelming, maybe a little bit frustrating. Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Dr. Christina Anastasia, and for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about what it takes for you to put together your conceptual framework to guide your dissertation research. So let's start with the definition of what a conceptual framework is. A conceptual framework should argue convincingly that the research questions are an outgrowth of the argument for relevance, that the research design maps onto the study goals, the questions, and the context, and that the data to be collected provide the researcher with the raw material needed to explore the research questions, and the analytical approach allows the researchers to effectively address those questions. So a conceptual framework is built with reason, asking what you want to study, why it matters, to whom does it matter, and rigor. How do your research questions align with your topic, and how do your methods address your research questions? So what exactly does this mean? It means that your conceptual framework is your entire dissertation. So let's break it down just a little bit further. Think about your conceptual framework as being a series of building blocks, and you start at the very bottom with a strong foundation, and you continue to build up and up and up. If you look at the very bottom of this page, it says concentration and research interest. That's going to be your first step in building your conceptual framework. It'll probably be an area that's of interest to you. Once you have an idea of where you want to go with your research, then you're going to build what we call a trio: a problem, purpose, and research question. These three things are going to lay the foundation for you to go to the next building block, and that is to build or write your literature review. Notice that underneath the literature review, we have theoretical framework. What we mean by this is that the literature is going to allow you to review theories and concepts and models and constructs and applications. This is what we mean by your theoretical framework. As you build your literature review, you're going to be able to identify a gap in the body of knowledge that will align with the trio. It's important to remember that this is what we call an iterative process. Each time you review your literature, you're learning more about these constructs that you're writing about. This, in turn, is going to prompt you to revise and restructure your trio until you have a strongly aligned literature review that leads to the gap in the body of knowledge that aligns with the trio that will be the foundation of your dissertation research. Once you're confident with your theoretical framework and literature review, and you have a strong trio, it's your research question that's going to lead you to the next building block, and that is the methodology. Depending on the research question, your method is either going to be qualitative, quantitative, mixed method, design science, or action research. If you look at the bottom half of this page below the dashes, you'll see that this makes up chapters 1, 2, and 3 of your dissertation. Once the first 3 chapters are written of your dissertation, this takes us to our next building block of the conceptual framework, and that is the data collection and analysis. This is where you're actually going to analyze the data that you collect and get an idea of what your findings are. The next building block above that would be the interpretation of those findings. The interpretation of the findings in the data analysis is what adds to the body of knowledge. This is where you, as a scholar practitioner, contribute to the body of knowledge. So if you look at the content above the black dashes, this would make up chapters 4 and 5 of your dissertation. So remember, this is an iterative process. The more you learn about the topic, the more you're going to develop your framework. Your original assumptions or knowledge is going to change, and what you thought you knew will change. So remember, as your knowledge changes, so will your framework.